Hey YouTube, this is Marcus again with another video. Today's video is going to, well, it ain't going to be today's video. This video is going to take place over a longer period of time. For those of you who may not have seen my other videos, I recently built myself a new gaming PC, and it was the first PC that I had actually built in a very long time. And I'm thinking about building another PC for the living room that won't be quite as powerful as the one that I use primarily for gaming. But what I want is I want something in the living room that's kind of stationary, so modular and upgradable, or at least more upgradable than the laptop that's folded up and docked in there right now. Easier to work on, easier to keep cool, and something that can offer a little bit more performance as sort of a media center PC, because me and my wife, we do play games together on the living room television. Sometimes we have friends come over and we play video games on the living room television. It's not going to be, ultra settings or anything like that, but, sometimes we do play games in the living room, and right now we're kind of limited by what hardware we have in there in my old HP laptop. But I don't want to go spending another, grand on something that is capable of running everything at 1080p ultra settings, 60 plus frames per second, but I also don't want it to be sort of anemic. And so I'm laying out parts here, and I'm thinking about, because right now we've got to kind of watch our budget. We have other more important responsibilities to take care of. But I've got sort of, you can see here, I've got sort of a little starting list, just kind of parts that I'm thinking about in a saved wish list here, and I'm still debating on, because I know the FM2 Plus socket. I'm an AMD fan. I'll admit it. I don't have a problem with Intel, but I've had good experiences with AMD products, so I tend to kind of want to stick with them. And I'm thinking about going with a Core i3, but I just stuck this in here for the time being. Because it's a 4 gigahertz quad core, and it seems to the reviews I've seen of it, it's gotten pretty positive reviews for in its use case. It's not a high-end processor, just like the Radeon RX 460 is not a high-end graphics card, but for a living room media center PC, it's good enough that if I had a buddy come over and we wanted to play Battlefield together, I could play on my PC and he could play in the living room. And 8 or 10 feet away, if he had to turn things down to medium to keep it at 60 frames per second, he's not going to notice that. So that's okay. And 99% of what it's going to be doing is playing movies, playing Netflix, playing games like Worms Revolution, simple things like that that are nowhere near as intense as Battlefield 1. But these parts are subject to change. And what I'm thinking about doing, since Ryzen just came out, part of the reason I didn't use a Ryzen chip in my recent build was because I needed a PC, and the only processors that Ryzen from the Ryzen lineup that are out right now they're all over 300. They're all over $300. And so what I'm thinking about doing, since we got to kind of watch our money anyway, is I'm thinking about ordering things like the case and maybe the graphics card, but definitely like the case, and then the power supply, and maybe the Windows disk. I'm going to see if I can find Windows a little bit cheaper someplace else. Maybe the hard drive, and then do the processor and things last, because the processor and the motherboard and the RAM all have to come together. And what I'm wanting to see is if by the time I get around to ordering a processor, see if maybe there's some cheaper $100-ish Ryzen processors available. If there's not, I'll go ahead and stick with the Athlon X4 880, or maybe an i3 if I can find one that matches or exceeds this processor for about this price. Because the key here is it's going to be a budget build. People are not going to be looking at every little pixel of the texture. So if you have to turn things down to medium on the rare occasion that you play something like Battlefield 1 on it, that's okay. It's not the big deal. Not a big deal. And we see here, counting a copy of Windows, we're at $595, which is actually not much more than I spent on the laptop that's in there right now. I've spent $450 on it after taxes. That was 500. I think I broke $500 after taxes. So for $595 here, we can get a system that will absolutely smoke that laptop that's in there right now. The RAM I'm going to hold off on, because if by the time I get around to it, Ryzen chips in this price range are available, then obviously I will not be buying DDR3 RAM, I will be buying DDR4. I wanted to show you guys, the first thing I'm thinking about ordering probably this morning is going to be the case, and it's an interesting case, and I'm going to order this first because I really like the look of it. You see it's got like the orange glass panel on the side. It's got a 5 1/4 and a 3.5 inch external drive bay, so I can have like a DVD or Blu-ray drive there for playing optical media, since it is going to be a living room media center PC. A Blu-ray drive might be something I might add to the list so that we could watch Blu-ray movies on the media center PC. If we scroll down here, you can actually see it doesn't open from the side like a conventional PC case. It folds and opens up, and instead of the motherboard bolting to a vertical panel, it actually bolts down to a horizontal panel here, so that when you insert the graphics card and things, gravity itself helps, you know, hold it in position. Whereas if it's in a vertical position, there is the possibility that gravity or something might pull it, you know, over time out of the slot. So that's an interesting thing. Of course, it's got USB 3 ports. It comes with one orange 140mm fan. I'm probably going to add a second 120mm fan to the back so that we have at least 2 case fans to sort of create some airflow across all the components inside. But I thought this was a really cool case, and I think this is probably going to be the first thing I go ahead and order. So what I will do is, as parts arrive in the mail for this PC, I'll kind of show you what they look like in person. And then once everything is here, I'm going to try to make a video of us building this computer once all the parts get here. I was going to make a video of me building the this gaming PC, and my wife was busy, and I didn't have a camera person, and I was, you know, trying to one-hand a camera while I was inserting RAM sticks, and I was afraid of dropping the camera in there and breaking something, so I didn't get to record myself building my gaming PC. So, especially since this one has sort of an interesting case, I'm going to try to get some video footage of us building this PC. So, I may even make this video, this little thing I'm doing now, just its own little standalone video. So, I'm going to try to keep it, say, under $600. Because, like I said, it's not intended to be some insanely powerful gaming rig. But I do need all of the components except input, the connected devices. We're going to have it hooked up to our 55-inch living room television. We're going to be using a wireless keyboard and mouse primarily, and a wireless controller for certain games. But and we've already got those things, but we don't have an extra copy of the Windows operating system for it. We don't have an extra hard drive to put in it. We don't have the case, the power supply. We don't have any of the components of the PC itself. So, like I said, I'll probably just every couple weeks order a part here, or maybe once a month order a part, and put off, let me see, we could probably do the case, then do the power supply, the hard drive, and the graphics card will be fine. But then hold off and do the motherboard, RAM, and CPU last, because they're kind of, if the Ryzen lineup comes out with something in this price range that is better than this before we order something else, then I will get that. If by the time it comes time to order the CPU, then we'll go ahead and go with this one. So anyway, if y'all have any comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions, if you can send me, if you can make a suggestion for a processor that meets or exceeds the performance of this one for this price, say $100 or less, I'm more than willing, willing to take in suggestions. I am a fan of AMD products, but if there's an Intel product that meets those requirements, I'm not too good to buy it. So just remember that we're also talking, motherboard plus CPU plus RAM, and I'm going to try to keep the total cost of the system as a whole under $600. But anyway, I just wanted to share with you guys an upcoming little project here that I'm going to try to get some video footage of, and hopefully you guys enjoy the ride, and hopefully it all works out, and we'll be able to play some multiplayer online games between the Beast and the living room computer. So anyway, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to post them in the comment section below. And as always, this is Marcus out. Y'all have a good one.